So with that, the last theme that I wanted to pick up in the last few minutes that we are left with is around some of the other governance related clauses. A lot of focus has now been coming out in terms of CICs. There are 4 clauses in all that deal with core investment companies and NBFCs. The first one is that the auditor needs to comment whether the entity needs to register as an NBFC, and if yes, whether it has registered itself or not. And let me give you a recap in a minute about what NBFCs or these entities are. Now, a registration is required with the RBI if an entity is engaged in the business of non-banking financial institution as defined in the RBI, but this should be the principal business of the entity. The whole idea is that if any entity's principal business is non-banking financial institution, they need registration. They need oversight by the RBI. And there is an RBI FAQ which talks about what is principal business. So if the financial assets and income from those assets are more than 50% of the total assets and income, then that is deemed to be carrying out financial activity, and registration is mandatory. So once again, the idea is that if any such business activity is carried out, there is exposure to public at large, and therefore whether they are being regulated in the right manner or not. Now, once the business has been conducted, whether they have a valid certificate or registration or not is also something that the auditor needs to comment on. The 2 other interesting clauses is, in case of a core investment company, whether it continues to fulfill the criteria for being a CIC, and whether it is required to be registered or whether it is exempt from registration, and whether those criteria are fulfilled or not. So to give a quick background of what's a core investment company, a core investment company is also an NBFC, but by definition, they have to hold at least 90% of their assets in the form of investments in shares, debentures, preference shares in group companies. And the investment in equity shares of those group companies should not be less than 60% of the assets. So basically, this is more like a top core, holdco created at the top. If they meet that condition, if these 2 conditions are met, then they need registration. And for an exemption from registration, the net assets have to be less than 100 crore. So once again, fairly objective and quantifiable criteria. The last item that you see on the slide here is around a factual statement of the number of CICs in the group. And if there are more than 1 CICs, then that fact. So again, a bit of background from a regulatory standpoint is that normally one group can only have 1 CIC. However, if the RBI specifically approves, you could have more than 1 CIC. And in June or July 2020, the RBI has come out with guidelines where the CICs will slowly need to move to a situation where they end up with 1 CIC in a group. Because the idea is that if you have multiple CICs, you can leverage multiple times and it creates a systemic risk. The group could collectively end up borrowing 11 times the capital that they have. That is considered to be risky from a systemic standpoint. So once again, relevant information that the regulators could get if they look at the audit reports of CICs. And you will find about 4 or 5 groups who have more than 1 CIC as part of the whole group. So that's the NBFC and the CIC related item. The last item that I had was around CSR reporting. Now, you will recall that if there is an ongoing project, or rather, if there is a project which is not an ongoing project and there is any unspent amount, the company needs to transfer that amount within 6 months to a separate fund. So let's say a company does not have a project to which it contributes. It makes a donation, it makes a one-off spend. If at the end of the year, they've not spent the 2% that they were required to spend, within 6 months, they will need to transfer this. So what could happen is typically the balance sheets get signed off by April or May or June, but they have 6 months from the end of the year to sign off. So it could happen is that the auditor signs the audit opinion, but the spent or the unspent amount is not transferred, in which case this statement of fact will have to be brought out. The second subclause that is there basically talks about where there is an ongoing project and an amount is unspent. So for example, there is a project where the company is building a school. They were required to spend 10 rupees during the year. They only spent 5 rupees during the year. What Companies Act now requires is that the unspent amount of 5 rupees is transferred to a special account within 30 days from the end of the year. And that amount needs to be spent over the next 3 years on this particular school's construction. At the end of that 3-year period, if there is any unspent amount, that needs to go to the special fund. So the idea here is extremely factual kind of requirements to report, but a careful assessment around tracking of this unspent amount is now required both by management and auditors. Currently, this clause is not yet notified, but once this particular subsection of Companies Act under 135 gets notified, this will start becoming mandatory as part of the audit opinion. That is all that we wanted to cover in today's webinar. I hope you found it useful. If there are any questions, maybe we can take them, or please feel free to write to us any questions that you may have, and we'll be happy to come back to you with an answer if we can't answer them right away. So there was one question from Mayur here, which says, if a CIC has borrowed funds from public and used that funds to lend to the subsidiaries of the CIC, whether this will trigger reporting? Yes, absolutely. While guidance is still evolving, prima facie view is it could trigger reporting because it's an extremely fact-based reporting. And maybe there either we should hopefully get more guidance, or otherwise the auditor could possibly bring out fact to state that this is a core investment company and it is required to invest or lend to group companies only. So yes, a practical item that we are dealing with. Hopefully guidance will evolve as we go along.